where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey UK Bills Mafia, this is Christian Wade of your Buffalo Bills. This is the Red, White and Buffalo Blues, a UK Bills podcast with your hosts, Matt and Alex. Let's go Buffalo! Woo!
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You're listening to the Red, White and Buffalo Blues, a UK Bills podcast. Now, we're excited, you're excited. We have hit 50 episodes. I didn't think we'd actually make it that much, and I think you fans would probably think they would have killed each other with all their arguing, their banter, their disagreements. But we've hit the 50 mark, halfway to 100 episodes, and I couldn't be more happier. I am Matt, and Alex is here with me. Alex, 50.
I mean, sure, we have friendly banter, but I mean, I can't imagine arguing. I mean, you should have heard me and my wife last night. That was an argument. I didn't want to clean the grill. It's dark out. Give me anyway. Yeah, okay, I did it this morning though.
Friendly disagreement.
Yeah. yeah. No, this has been fantastic. I posted just recently on Instagram saying about how every day back in Buffalo I was listening to sports radio talk, and I was like, that is an awesome job. I would love to do that. Now I know that we're not getting paid, but I'm still doing something that I love. Every episode is hours of work, preparation, research, and it hasn't gotten stale. It hasn't felt like it hasn't been tedious. I've enjoyed every second of it so far, except for our first episode, which was like our introduction, because I didn't have my microphone turned on. It was just the computer audio. That was a train wreck. Don't listen to that. Start at episode 2 if you're going to go back.
Yeah. I mean, coming up on the show, obviously, me and Alex will both be reflecting on the 50 episodes that we've actually done. The highlights, lowlights, favourite episodes, that sort of thing. And also, we've been building it up from last episode and on Twitter and on all social media. We'll have interviews with the Bills Wall of Famer, Steve Tasker, and Bills 7th round draft pick from 2008, wide receiver Stevie Johnson. Our first interview is Bills Wall of Famer Steve Tasker. Now, it was a privilege to actually interview him. We really enjoyed it. So here it is, us interviewing Steve Tasker.
Enjoy.
And joining us on our 50th episode, we have a Bills Wall of Famer and a special teams legend in Mr. Steve Tasker. Steve, thank you very, very much for coming on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll get straight into it. I mean, in the UK, rugby is a lot popular than it is in the States. You did play a bit of rugby at Northwestern without ever playing it previously. How did you come to the decision, and how much learning to play rugby influenced your abilities to play football?
Well, it was interesting. I was playing football, obviously, a long time before I played rugby. I played rugby my last year, I guess in the UK you'd call it. I played it my last year of university. And I played in about 8 or 10 matches. The learning curve for me was very quick because rugby is a much more simple game and a much more athletic game and a much more instinctive game than football is in a lot of ways. And I picked it up pretty quickly. And it was really, I thought it was a real gift for me. I did it to stay in shape before the NFL draft, to stay in shape for NFL scouts that were coming to Northwestern to check me out and test me to be, if I was just to scout me to see if they could draft me into the NFL. Different scouts would come in at different times. And I played rugby really just as a way to stay in shape for those scouts who would come in to see me. And of course, you know, the conditioning required for rugby is really It's great. So it really helped me stay sharp for the NFL scouts that would come into Northwestern looking to scout me for the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So, have you seen? So, kind of staying on the topic of rugby. I mean, have you spent a lot of time watching like Christian Wade and how he plays ball, and like, I mean, because he came from rugby. I mean, do you see that made the transition for him easier?
I think he certainly, for the running back position, it's perfect for him. It's probably the position in football that would translate the best, unless it was just as a kick returner. I think Christian would be a really good kick returner for the American football as well, because of the instincts, just catching the ball out of the air after it was punted or kicked off, and having to play and the ability to play in space. The one thing that he did have to pick up on, which we saw a little bit of last year's preseason, was the fact that he's in rugby. Of course, the ball is forward of everybody on your team. In football, it's better to have men and your teammates in front of you so they can knock the other team out of the way. That's legal in football. So he had to learn to run towards his own players rather than away from his own players and toward, his. So it was a little bit of a different technique and a little different mindset that he still had to run through. But I'm sure now he's been practicing with the Bills all through the current regular season and playoffs as a practice squad player. So I'm sure he's getting used to that aspect of the game, and I'm sure it's going to help him in the coming preseason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we saw what he can do from the first two preseason games. Obviously, his rugby instincts actually really came in the Panthers game, where he could follow his block on outside, but rather he cut back inside there. But
his instincts are absolutely evident. I mean, when he has the ball in his hands, he knows what to do, and his ability to avoid tacklers, and I think it's probably another aspect for him to get used to was the fact that he was protected from blockers and by his own padding, and you can accept contact without getting having to worry about getting hurt a little bit more readily than you can in rugby. And so he's there's little subtleties of the game that are different, but the instincts with him and the ball in his hands are very much the same.
Yeah.
And you can see that easily.
Yeah.
So something that I had forgotten about, but in doing research for this interview, I very quickly remembered your final game. And I hope this doesn't hurt at all, but your final game, you unfortunately get ejected. I'm sure that wasn't the game plan. So what do you do the rest of that game in Green Bay, and like how did your teammates react to you in the locker room? Yeah, I got thrown out about 5 plays in. Like, I mean, some of the players hadn't even broken a sweat in the game before I got tossed. So it happened really early in the game. I inadvertently and without malicious intent, I touched an official, which is a no-no. And for years afterward, the officials involved had always said it was a bad call. They shouldn't have made the call, but they did. And once the flag hits the ground, it's too late. And I have no hard feelings about it. Just for the record, it's no problem with me. I understand. But anyway, after that, as I left the field, I went to the locker room, and of course the locker room is empty because everybody's on the field. And the locker room attendant, it was in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with the Green Bay Packers. And I walked in, and the locker room attendant, who was a Packers guy, and kind of leaned over the railing of the stairs as I came up, and he asked me, he said, did you get thrown out? And I said, yeah, I did. He goes, oh, what'd you do? And I said, they didn't tell, because at that time, I honestly didn't know what I had done to get thrown out. I didn't realize I had touched an official. And I said, I don't know. He goes, oh my gosh, come on up. Let's have a sandwich, So we did. I came up, and he and I, he made me a sandwich, and we sat and watched the game on the smallest ever TV screen you've ever seen. It's like an 8-inch TV screen. We watched the rest of the game. I was still, had my gloves on to play. I was still completely in uniform, had my, eye black on, the whole 9 yards. And it wasn't until after halftime that I went in and showered and got dressed and called it a day. My teammates, I was really worried about what they would say after the game. And I stood in the locker room, and I was I was all dressed in a coat and tie as is customary.
And as the players came off the field, the first one into the locker room was a big offensive lineman named Jerry Ostrowski, who's 6'3" and weighs well over 300 pounds. And his nickname was Knuckles because his arms were so long he almost dragged the ground like an orangutan, right? So, and I thought perhaps he'd stuff me into a garbage can that was handy. But he came walking in, and we had lost the game, so I knew that they were going to be upset. And so Jerry came walking into the locker room and walked in and saw me and kind of just walked by, just in earnest, just because he was walking off the field. Then he remembered what happened to me. He'd stopped and he turned around, and I thought, oh, here he comes. He's gonna snap me in half. He looked at me and he pointed at me and he said, "You are the man. I want to go out just like you." So they thought it was the greatest stunt of all time to get thrown out of your last game as a professional football player. So it turned out that everybody thought it was a great idea, even though I had no desire to have it happen.
Did you actually tell him that you actually you say with the janitor actually watching on a small TV and you enjoyed a lovely sandwich whilst they were grafting on the pitch?
Well, I didn't tell him right at that moment, but we had all kinds of conversations on the flight home. I told them and they wanted to talk about everything but the game that they just played in. So it was a fun flight home for me, even though it was after a sad loss. But it was the end of a long season, and it was we had a lot of laughs because they knew it was my last flight home. So it was kind of a nice celebration on that flight. Yeah.
I mean, when you retired, are you leaving just co-workers or friends for life? And who do you, obviously other than probably Jim Kelly and that, who do you keep in touch with most from your playing days?
Oh yeah, it's more of saying goodbye to a group of family. And the interesting thing about football, the rosters are so big. There are 53 guys on the roster plus 10 practice squad players. So there's 63 guys around the building all the time throughout the whole season. And you practice together, you work together, you dress together every day, you meet together. So it becomes a family. But every year there are new players on the team, and it's a different team every year. So in that particular instance, those were the last guys I was ever going to play with. So there was a little bit of sadness there, no question. But I obviously keep in close contact with a lot of my old teammates. I have a text loop on my phone that I call it the 5 presidents. It's Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, Cornelius Bennett, Darryl Talley, Will Wolford, myself, Chris Moore, Cornelius Bennett, Darryl Talley, all these guys. There's about 8 of us on the text loop, and we chime in virtually every day or two to touch base with each other and to keep tabs on each other. And that's been going on for quite some time.
That's good. So it's almost like not giving up, not saying goodbye to friends. You're extending the family, so an extended family as such.
Yeah, exactly. It's an ever widening circle of guys that are included in a group that, you can imagine when you play football together, you celebrate the victories together, but you also, feel pain together too. You suffer through losses and you watch your friends, suffer from injuries and scrapes and bumps and bruises of every nature. And you hurt together. So it creates a bond that's pretty special.
Yeah. I mean, as you say, players get injured all the time. You're obviously a special teams legend as well. Obviously, the NFL are trying to make the game safer, and obviously, special teams play has always been their major focus, and potentially could see more changes. How dangerous was it playing, or is it playing special teams? And do you think the changes need to be made?
Well, they have made the game safer. They changed the kickoff rules and didn't allow running starts anymore. They don't allow players to line up farther away from the ball than 10 or 15 yards. That has made an enormous difference. They did studies about which players on kickoff and which plays in the game were responsible for the most injuries, and special teams came out of the top of the list as being the most dangerous. And it's easy to see why. I mean, you've got a pretty good athlete running fast down the field for 40 or 50, 60 yards. And running into another player, and neither one of those players is trying to avoid. They're trying to hit each other. That's a lot of velocity and a lot of weight and a lot of size that creates a lot of problems for the human body. And that's where the injuries came from. So they kind of minimized those. And by doing so, made the game much safer for guys who make their living like I used to.
Yeah.
So with the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, as we all know, you've been there. Kind of let's speak to like the mindset of a player. I always thought about like what goes through your head like the nights leading up to the game. I mean, and also like being there consecutively. Did like superstition ever like get to you for like the third or fourth time?
Well, it started to on the second time. But once you try it every different way, you go 4 times in a row, you kind of tried everything, and none of it seems to work for us, right? So I think the mindset for most of the players is that they become frustrated with the fact that the game becomes almost a secondary concern for most of the people in the city. They're there for the nightlife and the events that lead up to the game. They're there for the pageantry of the game. The schedule of the game is really, really frustrating for players. First of all, you get to the city on a Monday. Usually you play the game the next day because everybody arrives on Saturdays, and then you play the game on Sunday afternoon in most of the games in the regular season. And this one, you arrive Monday and you start and you practice, and you have media obligations, which are mandatory and extensive. And by the time Wednesday or Thursday roll around, you've used up most of the normal energy that you have before the game is played on Sunday. So you've got 3 or 4 days left on your body clock before you actually even play. And the frustration starts to set in of just marking time before the game actually happens. The game plans and the preparation were really put in last week while they were still in their home facilities. And then this week, it's more honing and polishing of the game plan and getting ready and just doing more and more of the same kind of preparation. It's just kind of a repeat game plan week after week this week because you've already got it in and ready, and there's nothing to practice again. So it really becomes tedious, and it becomes a waiting game, and it's really highly frustrating for players who are so used to a week to week to week routine. And then even on game day, the game is at a very, very weird kickoff time. It's 6:40 in the afternoon.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And it's very strange, strange kickoff time for guys. You end up wondering how long it's going to take for the game to be played. The daily routine is anything but routine. So everything feels a little bit different and strange. On Super Bowl Sunday, there's a long, long window of warm-ups before the game. There's all kinds of people that are in the way of game warm-up. And then, of course, halftime is double what it is for a normal game. It's a 25-minute halftime, which usually it's 12 minutes. And all of these things conspire to make it feel like anything but a football game. And it's really difficult to overcome that mentally for players.
Yeah, I think also with us in the UK, it's pretty much a midnight kickoff. So some of us won't even be in bed till about 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
So we always hope that people get the time off the next day for work, or there'll be a lot of people sleeping at their jobs.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a strange kickoff time, and it really makes for a chain reaction of events.
I imagine I'll only make it past the first quarter, but we'll see. So I'm sure you've heard the news from the Pro Bowl as Buffalo as a destination again. Regardless of how the team looks on the national media like there's an upswing, it seems like it's the same kind of thing every offseason. LaShawn McCoy had good things to say. Then other players had said that they would avoid Buffalo at all costs. I mean, I think I understand why, as a Buffalonian, visiting players probably only really see Orchard Park and the airport. But for fans in the UK who might not have been to Buffalo yet, I mean, the players that are saying bad things about Buffalo, I mean, what are they getting wrong about the city? Because you stayed there, right?
Oh yeah, my wife and I have made our home here. We've been here almost permanently since 1986. So all 5 of our children were born here in Buffalo. So yeah, we've been extremely happy here in this city, and it's been wonderful for us. I think what people don't get about the city is certainly the weather. We get 4 hard seasons here. We get a nice white winter. We get a beautiful, spectacular autumn. The summers are spectacular as well. The only real season that local people don't like, it's not the winter that we don't like, it's the spring, where it turns kind of a gray, muddy, rainy season of about 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's kind of hard to take, and people will take their vacations at that time. But the weather really here in Buffalo, you kind of put your arms around and embrace it. The favorite season here in Buffalo is always the next one. And and it's very expectant for a lot of people. It's great because because of where it sits and the calendar and the things that happen here locally here in Buffalo. There's always a great festival or something going on that draws people outdoors, and it's for us. The people make it great. The climate is a plus, not a minus. And we've been really happy here in Buffalo, and I think a lot of people miss the size of the city. Makes it intimate, makes it very familiar for most of us. You can't meet somebody on the street that maybe you don't have common friends. So it's a small city in that respect. It's got great restaurants, great food. And it has a lot to offer. It's been wonderful for us to live here, and I think a lot of the people who are here locally feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously all the free agents and all the other visiting players. Obviously, with us and the current state of the Buffalo Bills, obviously being part of a successful roster for lasted for years, Super Bowl era. What is the current Bills roster missing that'll help them take the next step, and what can the Bills add to make them favourites for playoff games?
Well, there's always there's 2 common ingredients for every team that is successful. One is a great coaching staff, and 2, great players. And if you want to go further into the playoffs, get better players and have a coaching staff that is interested in themselves getting better. And that's what the Bills have got here. Certainly they'll be able to add some new players. Like I said earlier, there's always new players on every team. And the Bills, with the budget that they earn, they have plenty of money to spend on new players this offseason, on free agents. They'll be able to bring in some great players. And the thought is always to bring in better players. If they can do that, with this coaching staff, they're not very far away. It won't take a bunch of new players. It may take a handful. But if they can do that, they're going to be even more difficult to beat than they were this year. And this year they were a headache for every opponent they faced.
Yeah, you've got the camaraderie as well. I mean, obviously you guys were that close in the Super Bowl eras that helped quite a lot. And obviously we can see some of that now with all the interactions each player had with each other, not just on the field, off the field, but also on social media when they'll laugh and joke. So that's obviously a great building block.
It's been part of the culture that Sean McDermott has instilled here. They are a very close-knit group, and they work at it. It's not just something they take for granted. The coach, they look for players with what Sean McDermott calls the right DNA. Players who are interested in helping other of their teammates get better. And when you've got a room full of players who are unselfish and interested in their teammates playing better, it elevates the entire organization. And I think that's the culture that they've instilled here. And I think that's one of the biggest selling points about this team and this city as a destination for free agent football players is the atmosphere of the place you actually go and work every day. I think it's stellar. And I think that word has started to get around for players who are looking for a place to play football. Buffalo has become a really fun place to work, a great organization to work for.
Yeah. I think it's something that obviously it helps quite a lot, and let's hope that we can get up there and actually win a couple of playoff games.
Yeah, that's the next step, to go deep into the playoffs. And go all the way to the Super Bowl. That's the goal, and they seem to be moving in that direction. I know this, though, the next step is just as difficult as the first steps were. So it's there's no guarantees, but they seem to be doing all the right things.
Yeah. One last thing is just a quick. It's just a bit of fun. This one is just how well do you know your teammates from back in the day? We've got a list of 5 quick questions, and just want to know which teammate actually would fit that category.
Okay.
Here we go. Uh-oh.
So we've got best trainer.
Best trainer. Now, by trainer, do you mean the medical staff or the weightlifting staff?
Or even players. Let's do players. Sorry, your players.
Players. Hardest trainer. Ooh, best trainer. Gosh, that's a hard one. I don't know. Probably Andre Reed.
Okay. Worst trainer.
The worst trainer.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Oh,
Did you say Jim Kelly?
That was too easy.
The person that was last to the practice field.
Bruce Smith.
Oh man, you really want him to throw people under the bus here, don't you? Jeez.
Hey, why not?
They're not listening. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'll say the last one of the practice field was Bruce.
Yeah.
It worked out for him, right? So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
The most likely to get in trouble with Marv.
I will say Daryl Talley.
In what way would he like try and like do things his own way, or was he like a practical jokester or something like that?
He was. I would say nobody really ever got in trouble with Marv. That was a hard one. The only time I ever saw Marv get mad at guys was when they got caught in traffic and were late one time, and that was Bruce and Daryl and Cornelius all together. So
oh no,
there's not much Marv could say. They were gonna play no matter what.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he also had words with Thurman about the missing helmet as well.
Yeah. We all had words for Thurman.
And the last one is the funniest teammate. Who made you laugh the most?
I would. Oh, that's a good one. Thurman Thomas was pretty funny. I got to tell you, he had a great sense of humor. But I think, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think it was James Lofton.
Ooh,
interesting. Booth.
Yeah, James Lofton. He still to this day has a great sense of humor. He was a real plus when we finally signed him to a contract and he came into our locker room. He was a great missing piece for us in his sense of humor.
Perfect. Well, this interview, Steve, has been amazing, and it's
absolute pleasure.
Really great speaking to a legend like yourself.
Well, guys, I'm flattered. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun for me, and I thank you for holding up the Bills faithful over in the UK. I really appreciate it. We all do.
We do, and if they do come over, whether it be this year or any others, we'll extend an invitation for you to come to one of the parties.
That's great. Give me a VIP pass, though, please.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I'm sure you'll be able to drink for free. Don't worry about that.
That's great. All right, guys.
So you're all right.
All right, then. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks, all right, guys.
Steve.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. And now we are joined on our 50th episode by Stevie Johnson, wide receiver picked to round 7, number 224. Finished his Bills career with 3,832 yards and 28 touchdowns. Stevie, thank you very, very much for coming on and joining us.
Yeah, it's good to be on. Thanks for having me.
So, Stevie, with the Super Bowl weekend right here, just wondering what's your plans for this weekend? Anything revolving around the game at all?
Actually, I'm gonna be chilling. I'm gonna be chilling at the house. Maybe at my kids have games. I'm not sure if we back to back with a doubleheader, but I'm gonna try to get back in time to watch these Niners because that's where I'm from. San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I gotta represent for the home team at the end of the day. But we'll spend the first part of the days at basketball games, and then we'll come back through with the fam and watch the Niners versus Chiefs. Who y'all got?
I was gonna say about your civic pride with San Francisco. I mean, you're probably biased, but like, how do you see this game going?
Yeah, I'm definitely biased. So I'm gonna say the Niners with a win. However, I'm always into, seeing some entertainment, and I think that's pretty much what everybody's excited about is the entertainment factor that both of these two teams bring. When first I'm gonna speak on the Chiefs with Mahomes doing things like Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? So people in San Francisco can really appreciate the type of quarterback that they'll be going up against. Is respect there. He's innovating the quarterback position, I would say. Rolling to the right, looking left, throwing right. You know what I'm saying? Side on, kind of how Brett Favre was doing it, more like swagger with. Yeah. So you can appreciate that. And then with the type of speed that they have, you know what I'm saying? When you speaking, obviously Tyreek and going all the way down in that receiver room to Sammy Watkins, who we know is a burner and one of ours. You know what I'm saying? So, it's going to be a great game. But then when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, these guys went from what? Did they win one game last year or zero?
I think
Something
it was
like that, yeah.
They only won
4
one game.
or something.
Yeah, I think
bad.
they only won one game.
Yeah. Really,
it was terrible, and here they go with an explosive, creative running game. Defense is finally coming to play. It's one of those special games. I think we might see
records being
broken.
Might see
like over 90 maybe. I hopefully we see over 80 points. You know what I'm saying? Something crazy. But I mean these defenses are pretty good, so I don't know if it's gonna go that high. But it's gonna be something to look forward to, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Just hopefully something better than last year's, because last year's was a snooze fest. You mentioned Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins, but to look on the other side of the ball, you know a lot about Richard Sherman. You had one game against him with the Bills and one game with him against the Niners when he was in Seattle. You put up 8 for 115 and a touchdown on him. And the next time you saw him when you were with the Niners, he had 2 picks. So kind of how do the Chiefs match up against him? I mean, he was great when you played against him. He's great now. I mean, how do you see that going?
Yeah, I think Sherman's going to hold his side down. I think he's go do his part because that's what he does. He's always somehow find a way to make a play. And you can respect that about him. He's there. When I played him when I was with Buffalo, shoot, I honestly didn't know who he was. I wasn't the type of guy that really focused on. I didn't focus on other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just like, okay, this guy who it's funny because so who do we have? We had a quarterback who played with Seattle, and he was like, hey, Richard said you ain't getting nothing today. Tavares Jackson, you're right.
Yeah.
And he was like, yes, Richard said you ain't getting nothing today. I was like, huh, who? I don't even talk trash like that. Why is somebody talking about it? He was like, 25. I was like, oh, okay, we'll see when we line up then. And at that time I was pretty much like the number one target for the Bills offense. You know what I'm saying? So I had action to get more plays, more opportunities. So what happened is whatever happened that game. But when I played them when I was with San Francisco, see there I was I probably was the 4th option. You know what I'm saying? So it was like you can't really say this is a 1-on-1. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like not like when it was with me in Seattle, so I got more to speak on with that to tell his type of game that he has and how good of a corner he is. In San Francisco, I just got to give him props because he had those 2 picks on us, and one he got on me. It was underthrown. I'm gonna let you know that. So he was beat again, and Cap just underthrew it, and he got the pick. So it was like, okay, you can't say nothing about that, but he shouldn't say nothing either.
Right.
But he got the pick and they got the win, so I never really speak too much on anything when a team get the win. You never heard me say anything about it in Seattle, how things I did to him, but they got the win. It was like a big win by them too, so just all fairness and competitiveness. But at the end of the day, it's all salute, respect to his game and his craft and all those DBs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got Trey White. Obviously, Stephen Gilmore when he was, and all that. But it's one of those underrated positions that you've got to be skilled at, especially going up with guys like you against Tyreek Hill, even against Metcalf nowadays. So
exactly.
Yeah.
You can't really give them though. You got to give them credit. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, a DB is already at a losing position. They don't know where the play is. You know, they running backwards. So, you know, when they do make those plays, when the receiver like, why are you even celebrating right now? That was a bad throw. But they need that, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't know what's going on. They got to feed off of anything. And one thing about Sherm, though, he'll celebrate, but he's in this position to be able to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? So you got to respect it.
Yeah, I mean, going on to your work, obviously outside the NFL, obviously lately in California, you've been spending a bit of time working with high school and college players. Have you had a chance to work with any or see any of the prospects that are going to come out in 2020? So obviously we know the Bills have a need for wide receiver.
Yeah, you know, I've actually had the opportunity to go back to my alma mater, and University of Kentucky, and you know, I did some work with he's a quarterback this year, Lynn Bowden. The year before he was wide receiver and special team ace. And I feel like he's a guy who if we add him to the team, it'll help us out in ways as far as field position, because his instinct. I'm just talking about not on offense, but even just doing punt return or kick return. His instincts is beyond, you know, and working out with him. You can tell some guys, they're good athletes, but then other guys, you can tell there's something more in them. Like they're doing this for something a little bit more than just football or making it to the NFL. You know, either they got a family or they came from poverty or something like that. And he's one of those guys that I've seen something more in. So I just feel like whoever team he'll go to would be big. But if we was to give him in Buffalo, I think he'd be real special because he'd have an opportunity to play now and show what he has.
Yeah, more of a Swiss Army knife. He can line up in the backfield, line up
exactly.
A wide receiver, and even if he works on it, can even throw a ball or two.
Exactly, and you know, and why not?
Yeah. I mean, if John Brown can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you gotta be different. You know, my time in the league, I always, you know, I would make my moves up and stuff because, you know, I knew people couldn't guard it. They wasn't training for this type of stuff. And then I would see that now when I'm not playing, and I like meet these coaches and all these different type of coaches from around the world, in high school to junior college, all the way up to the NFL. And you see like the difference in some of these coaches. Like most of them are coaching the same, you know, and they're teaching everybody the same. But then there's a few, I would name one like Kevin Kelly. He's a high school coach, and he does things totally different. You know what I'm saying? And it works. It works, you know, and, you know, that's why I would just say with Lynn Bowden, it's something different. He played quarterback. Obviously, he's not a quarterback, but he brings a different aspect to the game, to the offense, or to your special teams, and it's something that people aren't ready for. With that guy, because he obviously, like you said, he can catch it and mess around. It looked like it's a bubble screen, and then he's throwing it to the receiver down the field. You know what I'm saying? Like teams aren't ready for that, but we got to do it more, implement that type of stuff, and he's a player that can do that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's obviously all the national media and all that are saying that Bills need that tall receiver, that big burly guy to go up the catch. But if you get guys like Lynn Bowden, or even there was a name I was reading about this morning, the guy out of TCU, Jalen Rigor. You get guys like that.
Yeah, he's dynamic.
You get guys like that.
People don't say that. Yeah, people don't really say those names. Excuse me, because it's not the fancy one to choose. Everybody's not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I agree with that." You know what I'm saying? They want to. If you say get a tall receiver that can jump and go up, everybody's going to agree with that. And yeah, everybody would love to have that. But you know, you really got to find the right. You got to have the right scouts to go see that person and do their homework on them. You know what I'm saying? Because those big receivers aren't always the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some of them can't even run out routes. You know what I'm saying? Some can't get off the press. You know, but when you do find one that can and is explosive, you definitely lucked up on that, and you got a baller. But there's tons of guys like TCU and UK athletes that's talented if you really just scout it. You know what I'm saying? They're not the popular opinion, but they can play ball.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this year's wide receiver class, you've got the likes of the guys from the SEC, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jefferson, Van Jefferson, all that. Obviously, you've mentioned the path that in the past that obviously the SEC is like the preferred path for the NFL for the younger players. Mm-hmm. What is it about that conference you think that produces the best talent, not just at wide receiver, but like at any position? Because obviously, I believe Kentucky were SEC, weren't they?
Yeah, that's pretty good. A good conference, man, and it just all start with the big names from past years, and then championships, and then being able to play against those coaches. Most of those coaches came from like NFL teams, so they use those schemes and those defenses and offenses. So a majority of those SEC teams are like that, and you got players. It could be good and it could be bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen plenty players come out and not excel being from the SEC, and but then I feel like there's benefits in it because I say it gets you ready. It's a strong conference. Like I wouldn't say the pressure because you don't really feel I don't know if you really feel pressure.
No.
But that there's a lot like as far as the NFL aspect or the aura of it is in that SEC. But you can definitely get it anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You can get your skills from any conference. I was I was blessed to go to Kentucky because I love basketball, so that was the only reason that brought me there.
Yeah,
so I was totally on the other spectrum of thoughts.
Yeah, because obviously it's not just that. I mean, Laviska Shenault, obviously Colorado, obviously not SEC, but still someone that actually can get mentioned as a fit to the Bills, and someone's played in a lesser conference, so we say, to the SEC. But anywhere you can go, as long as you've got the right, almost like you've got the right coaching, it always gives that one good step, doesn't it?
Indeed, and that's good that you brought up coaching too, because that's a valuable part of it. That's how I've been traveling to these different teams and seeing athletes, training with athletes, and coaches are huge in this. They play a huge role, and that can determine whether a player is actually a player that's able to play in the league. Is with those coaches, and a lot of the NFL guys, they end up going to smaller schools. Like I got a friend in Utah at Weber State. I got another friend at Southern Utah, and they've been in the league, so they can pass that wisdom down and show them, the ins and outs. So you actually have those players like, oh dang, where'd you go? Oh, you went there? How you balling like this? So come, you know what I'm saying? It's because of that coaching. You know what I'm saying? The wisdom that we gained. And we go down and give it to the future generations, whether you're in a big school or not. And that's really that's where I'm at with it right now. Besides some other things.
Gotcha. That's great. That's a really good way to look at it. So earlier we had Steve Tasker, or coming up we'll have Steve Tasker on, and looking at the Bills' draft picks. You and him both considered to be draft steals, late round picks that flourished. What did it take for like a guy that gets drafted at that spot to really, like on day 3, to really make it? Like how did you, like, talk to me about like the work ethic, and is it more chance, or is it just all on you?
Yeah, it's a little both. And remember I was saying about Lynn Bowden, like there's some guys that play for something more than just making it to the NFL. You know what I'm saying? And as that is a hard task to get to the NFL, we know it's possible. In our area, in our hoods, it's possible. If you got athletic skills and you stand out of trouble and you pass in grades, I mean, the NFL should be a guarantee. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much how it was with us. So we wasn't thinking too much like on the outside looking in. We was like, it's just gonna be a matter of time. And then when I get there, you gotta ball out. But to answer your question, in my perspective, like I had something more, like I had a family, I had a daughter coming into the game. I had my wife, and I was 20 years old coming in or whatnot. And it's like, okay, if you want to be able to have more kids, if you want to want your kids to, have a comfortable life or whatnot, not like how yours was, then, you got to sacrifice. And that's one thing that brought me to Lynn Bowden, because he's playing for more. I don't mean to go back to that again, but he's playing for more, and that's how I was, you know what I'm saying, coming in 7th round. So, yes, it was by chance, because I had to wait. I mean, I played my first year, but the second year I didn't play at all. But I wasn't frustrated. I didn't get mad at anything, because I was just observing, learning the game. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't in a rush. I was taking care of my body. T.O. came in my second year. Obviously, I wanted to play with him, but just being in the room with him and listening and seeing how he moved was more than enough for me, coming from San Francisco and watching him play there. And then him coming to Buffalo was like, oh, that's like, it's a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Actually, not even tripping off of, whether I'm playing or not. And, then, the work is always there. Every day you got to show up. They make that known. And some guys, you just can't have pride. You can't be too prideful or too cool. That's what what a lot of these kids I see now is too cool. Oh, it's gonna be okay, or just walking around like it's nothing. Like you do gotta have a sense of urgency. Don't play it too cool. And a lot of these kids, a lot of these kids are being too cool about it, thinking it's just given.
So the advice,
good insight.
So the advice you'd give to any youngster, any person that will go on like day 3 or even undrafted, just work hard, focus, and
be humble,
and just take in as much knowledge as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Observe things. Observe your not rookies, but the veterans. And then when you get on the field, show them why you're there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So on a lighter note, since you hung it up, the NFL has relaxed their celebration rules. I've read in a few interviews there's a little bit of frustration on there, like the NFL owes you a little bit of money. But just to see if there's anything in your bag of tricks, is there anything that you ever wanted to do that you kind of shied away from because of the rules?
No, I never shied away from any of the celebrations I wanted to do because of the rules. But there was one that I wanted to do, but I just didn't get in the end zone, so I couldn't do it. And I wanted to get my phone out and do like the video selfie or something on the sideline or with the fan after a score, or I wouldn't have it on the sideline. I mean, I didn't know how I would set it up in the end zone, but I would go to the sideline. I had my friend hold the phone. He was a water boy, and he was holding the phone just ready for it. And I didn't get in the end zone at the time, and I was like, that would have been a good one. That would have been something new, because I ended up seeing like years later, it was at the Pro Bowl, and maybe it was Ty Gurley who maybe he did something on the sideline where he was doing something. But it was like, I was thinking of this years ago, like, yo, I'm gonna do a selfie video, you know what I'm saying? After the score, look at the score, this and that, what's up, real, what y'all thinking, this and that, then post it out of there. And I would have gotten in trouble, but it's for the fun of it, getting the fans involved. My celebrations was never no ill intent, no ill will about it. Even, when I did the guns with Plaxico, it may seem like it was an ill intent type of celebration, but honestly, he shot himself, and now he's back in the NFL playing healthy and everything. So I mean, what you mad at? Like, this shouldn't
exactly.
Be
he survived.
He scored.
Yeah.
Come on, it's fun now. Let's play ball. And but that wasn't nothing ill. Shoot, when I shot the gun, the musket, like Patriots.
Right.
I wasn't acting like I got gun stuff. I was sitting down on the sideline talking with Donald Jones, and they scored, and like they shot the gun, and I jumped like, oh, like, okay, they scaring me. I'm gonna show them what it's about. And then I ended up getting the end zone that time and did the musket shot and fell backwards. So it was just, it was just fun, man. They find me for every last one of them. But it's all good though, because I know the real ones who was really watching football and understand that this is a hard game, but it's also entertainment at the end of the day.
None of the fans ever.
They appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, just quickly going away from football for a moment. Obviously, I've listened to a bit of music. You've actually released a few singles a while back. I think I had them all burned on a CD back in the
nice.
time. Obviously,
Nice.
Cole Beasley has done a bit of rapping. Would you two ever collaborate on a single? That'd be probably something that
You know
most
what?
people love to hear.
Man, you know what? You might have to do our intro.
Here we go.
Let's do it. I'll get the beat, or he probably knows some guys who can get instrumentals, and yeah, we can for sure make a Space Creator single. I'm with that. I haven't put no music out in a minute, but I mean, if he down for it, then yeah, for sure. I'll get in there and do that. We can do that for the Bills Mafia.
Look for us. We'll see if we can try and get hold of him and actually and
Yeah,
pitch
we're
it to
trying to
him.
get a hold of him, so we'll see if we could put something like that together. That'd be unbelievable.
Yeah,
That would definitely be the
I
intro
think
to our
that'd be
show.
cool for her.
Yeah.
Right. We got Cole Beasley and Stevie Johnson. Then a beat drop. Come on, let's go, and we in there. Let's get it.
Getting excited for it now.
Yeah, we've got to make it happen.
Got to make it happen now. Yeah.
Damn.
We'll do a campaign for it to get it happening. Just
yeah, I'm with it though. I'm with it. There's nothing to tell a story and create.
Yeah. Just to finish off as well, it's a little light-hearted, quick rapid-fire questions. It's about your teammates, whether they've been the Bills, the 49ers, or the Chargers from your time. There's just 5 quick questions about your teammates.
Yeah, good. Let's get it.
So the first one was, which one of your teammates was the best trainer?
It was Drayton Florence. He was the best trainer because with my space creating skills, it was solidified through him. We would always not work out, but we go at it with each other, back and forth, one-on-ones, whether it's team or 7-on-7, and he would show me like, okay, I know you're going either here by lining up there. You know what I'm saying? So I would do different things. You know what I'm saying? And my body language would be different. And I asked him questions like, "Yo, how did you know I was gonna break in on this?" And he would tell me. You know what I'm saying? So I would give that props to Drayton Florence because he helped out with that space creating mentality.
This one caused a bit of controversy, or may have thrown Steve Tasker when we under the bus on this one. But worst trainer.
Uh-oh.
The worst trainer we had, like a worst player. Let's see.
It's okay to just say the kicker.
The kickers, nah, because Brian Moorman was a hell of a worker. Him and Ryan Lindell, they were really good workers. Well, Lindell, he was probably like maybe 52 at the time when I was there. I was like, he looked like he could be the worst trainer, but he was actually a hard working kicker. It's tough to say who. Because not many people at that time was getting in trouble for, being overweight or just being lazy. If they was, I didn't even notice that they were gone already. Yeah. Because they had, they was on the team probably longer. This one, if you messing up, they probably have you out within that next week. So,
right.
I think the NFL go down.
So who is the worst trainer then? Who was the worst trainer?
You're still gonna make him answer it. Oh goodness. Okay.
Well, let me think of the other 2 teams. What kicker? We had the worst trainer was Marone. Was Marone in Buffalo because he didn't come to me about no pay cut or nothing. He ain't come to me about nothing. He just traded me, man. So I'm gonna say he was the worst. If I had to throw anybody under, it's gonna be a coach, not one of my brothers that I went to war with.
I very much like that answer. I think the rest of Bills Mafia will agree with you there too.
Yeah. Any left the team, deserved the team out of nowhere. So
yeah.
We're gonna put Marone there.
Next one is the person that was the last to the training field.
Well, I would say it's tough. It's tough because Fred Jackson, he would be the first one out there, and he would come, but he'd come back in there to come wrestle and play with everybody else, and then he'd eventually be the last one to come out there. But he'd be in there, like literally, like boxing people, wrestling. Like he was like a bully, not a bully in the sense of like bad guy though. Yeah.
Yeah, just messing around though.
Yeah, he was the Incredible Hulk. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah. Nobody was, especially the rookies at the time, like us when we was young, or the new guys. Freddie was already a savvy vet for the most part. He was like the same year as us, but he had a journey, and he would make sure everybody was straight and got together. So he would, by default, be the last one out because he's kicking everybody else out the locker room. So he's a special one. I appreciate dude though.
Yeah. Got two more. The next one is the most likely to have got in trouble.
Most likely got in trouble was my boy Keenan Allen. He was man, special dynamic player. He was an alien. I'll just say he was a pure alien, man. He for some reason he always got in trouble for being overweight, and I didn't understand how they would still follow. Yeah, how would you still follow through and find this person who's every day at practice, he's doing everything, catching all this, going to game, catching passes, doing his thing, but then he'd probably be like 2 pounds overweight, which is ridiculous as a receiver. And they'd fine him for it. And like that was just it was uncalled for, but he always would get in trouble, man, for that. And I always be like, man, that don't make sense. But they'll get it back to you when you got his contract. So he ended up getting paid back. So that's cool. But Keenan got in trouble a lot, man.
And the last one is your funniest teammate.
My funniest teammate? Dang, there's so many dudes.
Like, don't make it easy.
When I went to dude, like all those, like Keenan was real, man. Jacoby Jones was another one that was from elsewhere. He came from Baltimore, but he came to San Diego with us. He was so cool. Michael Crabtree, he made things easy. Man, we had guys on that 49er team. Alden Smith he made things light, it's a lot of them. Like Freddie's one of those guys too. Man, Josh Reed was good when I as a rookie, he made things easy. There's so many guys though, man.
How were you in the locker room? Were you a prankster in the locker room?
No, I wasn't. I spent most of my time in Buffalo trying to avoid Freddie, really. I was trying to avoid Freddie because I really don't like doing the play fighting and stuff. Where I came from, we didn't really play fight. You know what I'm saying? If you go fight, something go happen and we gonna end up fighting. You feel me? So I'll try to avoid him. I was in my locker, just doing my thing over there with the guys or in my area, and if I wanted to visit others, I would. But I was mostly just quiet. You know what I'm saying? I was quiet, ready whenever they wanted to come talk or whatnot. But I was just chill. Me and the receivers, me and DBs, I kick it with all of them. Linemen, D linemen, linebackers, they was all my buddies. But I wasn't out there in the middle doing boxing and slap fighting and wrestling, seeing who's the strongest. I already knew I wasn't the strongest, so I ain't about to sit there and challenge you, man. So it was cool. It was a fun experience though in all of those lockers from San Diego, San Francisco, and in Buffalo. I missed the most when I was because that was like it was like a family oriented locker, So that was pretty cool.
So I'm not going to press you for a specific funniest teammate because you say you've got so many.
Yeah, we'll take.
There's a ton of characters, bro. There's a ton of characters out there.
No, I mean, Stevie, thank you so much for taking some time out and actually and chatting to us. It's been a huge honor and pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
And
thanks for having me on.
We'd love to have you on again another time.
Yeah, I'm all for it, man. Just hit me up. You know how I go.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you very much once again, Stevie.
Indeed.
Thanks again,
guys.
Take care, man. Talking to you.
Everybody be cool.
Cheers.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Handle biz. Have fun.
Cheers.